Welcome to the Retail Tech Podcast. My name is Darius Wasafi, and today I am speaking with Nate Barad from Algolia. Hi, Nate.
Hi, Darius. Thanks for having me on.
Welcome to the show. Let's start with a brief overview of your background, and then we'll get into what Algolia is doing.
Sure. I love to talk about my background. It's more exciting than I expected it to be. I was a field implementer in North America and Europe for e-commerce websites, search, a lot of marketing technology. So started in North America with some large brand conversions, folks like AutoTrader, that went from, the business model was 17-year-olds dropping off pamphlets at pizza shops, turned into the world's biggest online auto retailer. Another interesting one is Major League Baseball, of course, where we used to have, ticket windows where you'd buy tickets, and of course, moved that entire business online. And then I was fortunate enough in the mid 2000s to move to UK to do the same thing throughout Europe with some exciting projects like the Tate Museums, help build their websites and their e-commerce shops, Transport for London, as they were moving online with all of their route planning, et cetera. So my background is steeped very much in the customer side, being with the
Right.
customers and helping them. The reason I like it so much is every 2 or 3 months, I had a totally different business model and a totally different set of customers to delight.
That's very interesting. And then you transition, I guess a part of all of that experience is search and discovery.
Absolutely. Yep. So search is the beauty of search, or the double-edged sword of search sometimes, is that we've all owned search. If we've been a business, we've all used search. If we've looked at our own music catalog, or we, of course, most of us online shoppers, we've all used search, so most folks are familiar with it. Um, and then, yeah, the double-edged sword, of course, is that people expect a lot out of it because it's so pervasive.
Yeah, so when people think about search, a lot of people just immediately go to search engines,
Hmm.
the initial search point for consumers. But that's just a starting point most of the time. And then, even when you go to Google, you get some search results, then you go to a website and you have to do more searching.
Correct.
And that's what Algolia and your focus is on right now, is helping people find things on websites, apps, agents. I don't know that we'll talk about that later too.
Yeah, we could talk.
Yeah. So, how is um, how is the search experience changing from your point of view, both on the consumer
Hmm.
side and also from what business are doing to try to catch up with it?
So a couple layers to that one. I think on the consumer side, we'll start there. Our mission, the unachievable, right, that always keeps us going is to find without foraging and to help people find without foraging. And this naturally is a mission as old or as tested as humanity's existed, right? Whether we're foraging for the next fishing hole for food, or foraging for shelter, or et cetera, foraging for medicine, that foraging is deep within our DNA, and the ability to find something brings us delight. And we know we've achieved something, we've found what we're looking for. So find without foraging is what we're always going to look at. And really, this is the segue to your point of how is search changing, where it's changing from, I say, retrieving a result to either finding an answer or even generating an answer. Whereas I think it used to be search, you assumed, kind of like a map, there was a A and a B, there was an origin and a destination, and search would get me to that destination. Where I think now we're coming to search through a number of use cases with either challenges or problems, or whether I say into my remote control I want to watch a comedy that's family friendly, something like that, where now we're looking for search to suggest us
Mhm.
things, versus just find us a point from A to B. So yeah, it's becoming more, like I said, it's pervasive, the modalities that people are interacting with. are forcing this change, the human expectation of the search engine. But in simplest form, and Darius, I think the way I think about it is we're moving from or evolving from hyper performant retrieval to hyper accurate, hyper performant generation, creation, answering. I think Wolfgang, or was it Wolfgang, the initial, they called it an answering engine, a decision engine.
Oh,
Yeah, I kind of like that term.
yeah. So if you look at it from a point of view of a consumer, and we are all consumers, right? When we think about the concept of looking for something,
Mm,
it doesn't happen immediately. Well, sometimes it's immediate. Like I need milk. I need to run to the grocery store or order it or whatever. But like on more considered purchases, it's a process. And that's really what the job of a good search tool for me would be to help me along that with the least amount of time and finding the most relevant products. And on top of it, recommend and educate me on things I need to know to make that decision. So I'm looking for a built-in double gas oven right now for my home.
mhm.
And I am trying all the different types of things and, going to Google and going to finding websites and going there. And then also my life, especially maybe because I'm really like my own company is building an AI agent for shopping, uh, probably more than a normal person, like the typical person. But I'm like not even going to Google anymore to start. I'm going to ChatGPT. I'm going to our own agent and I'm talking instead of saying keywords. I'm telling the agent, this is what I'm looking for. I live here. This is my, and find it for me. Tell me. So is that also happening for you personally?
Both personally and professionally, yes. The first thing actually I think I want to touch on is the first thing you mentioned is sometimes I know what I want. I get the same gallon, half gallon, whatever of the same type of almond, 2% soy, whatever, like whatever, you're going to make that purchase. There's no foraging, right? So versus something else where you're in an education mode, or you're in a learning mode. What you described very clearly was that our goals as consumers change. Sometimes in the same minute, the same visit. My example often is I've got two growing teenagers. One day, how's your shoes? They're great, they're fine. The next day, they're bursting out of them, and I need to find a pair right here locally in their size before practice tonight. Yeah. I mean, within a
Mhm.
day, it went from, oh, just keep me informed of the new sales and the new versions to, oh my goodness, I can't send my kid to practice in bare feet. Um, or with his toes bursting out of a cleat. The point is that the goals change. And so that's the first, I think, new challenge for a search engine is to realize that the consumer's goals change and that the holy grail of experience is they get me, right? As a consumer, oh, they got me. They understood I just wanted a gallon of milk. I didn't need helping text on, would you like to compare soy milk to almond milk? And all these other features where, like you said, that assistant might help me in a double gas oven, and all that interaction and all that research might help me. So the first thing is to recognize the goal that the consumer is trying to accomplish and to be genuine about what you're providing as a solution. For someone that needs it quick, help them get it quick. For someone that wants guidance, get them into the assistant. And then even I would say as an exit point of the assistant, okay, we've asked 5 questions. Now's a good time for us to connect you with a specialist. Or so, like, but if we're being genuine at the very, very front of trying to identify what the goal is, they just want to return something. Let it be quick. Or they just need those shoes. They're not too worried about price right now. They're just worried about location. Don't ask him if he'd like to sign up for the credit card. All these things that might be helpful and all these signals. If we can recognize the consumer's goal and align our business goal to it, now we're in again that they get me zone, right? Now the customer trusts us, and now we're getting what we want as a business is as little friction as possible to our goals, right? Like if the sports store needs to move inventory and they have a pair of cleats that fit, that perfectly matches my goal for today. Right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this is like when I think about what is possible, we I also realize how native or how early we are in that process of providing this kind of an experience to consumers. Like we're really at a basic level of here's a keyword, show me 5,000 websites and links and photos. And and I think what you also mentioned really goes into the data side because without data, you cannot make those determinations. And something that I've been looking into is how capturing and utilizing data is changing. It seems like, we had third-party data and then I guess second-party data, first-party data, and now zero-party data. And for us as an agent, zero party data is the most important part because that's how I can understand Nate's life. If Nate trusts us enough to give us, like, hey, my son has a game and tonight, and so that kind of data is really is needed to be able to provide that experience.
It's the data is no question. And that's setting aside, I think, I'm just going to touch quickly. You mentioned how's search changing. We can bracket this as like a follow-up, but I mean, we're moving from solving search complexity to business complexity. And I know that sounds like a buzzword, but I think, like you said, that having the right data and understanding, take a pharmacy, for example. A pharmacy in the suburbs is more worried about inventory availability and notifying people, hey, we're here now. And the community's excited, the pharmacy's in town. Pharmacies in the urban areas are very hyper focused on buy online, pick up in store right now because all the products are either being stolen, so like so to your point, if we're in a culture where folks are, say, stealing from retailers or wearing clothes and returning them with the tags on, asking for personal information for Nate, how old is your son and when's his next game? That's a huge divide that we got to fill, right? And
Mhm.
so to your point, I think we fill that with predictive models and we fill that with the data that we have. Intelligence must be earned through experience and must be earned through smart data aggregation. Um, so I think I'm coming at the point long way around. We understand the goal first. We have to understand their goal first. And again, that really comes from as much predictive and synthesized modeling as we can have. It's got to be synthetic because we want to keep it anonymous. We want to keep it, of course, ethical and all that. Don't just overassume that, but Algolia is very
Right,
serious about that.
right.
It's all synthetic data that we want to run these predictive models on. But if we can predict that goal quickly, and then it really comes down to your point on the data, and I'm bringing it all the way back to how search is changing. It's really what we call the Goldilocks zone, right? Because intelligence and sophistication isn't free. It requires cycles,
Mhm.
it requires speed. And what we know and what we believe as of paramount, we will not, and nor will customers compromise on speed. Um, it's got to be, I mean, there is milliseconds absolutely make millions. Like people will drop, people will leave, people's patience is less and less and less. So, anyways, we have to maintain speed. But to your point, we're being asked for so much more personalization, location. They were being, I kind of joke, it's like a genie. We have
Right,
otherworldly powers with a little
right.
small living space of the search pill. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, long and short, what I'll conclude on is I get really excited about this. It's such an interesting problem. But again, the point is that there's more to it than just search. We have to understand the goal, realize if we're being asked to generate a response, and then connect the business of, okay, do we have inventory? How quickly can we get this product to this consumer?
So let's talk a little bit about Algolia.
Hmm.
Algolia is not a new company. It's been around for a good amount of time. And
Yep.
of course now AI is a part of everybody's solution. Help me understand how Algolia is helping customers right now with this whole discovery challenge that is coming up. And then we'll get into other questions. Yeah.
Great, 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 great lead in. So I think what Algolia's been around, I want to say we've been around 13, 14 years. We have over 18,000 customers now. So if you have shopped, I don't know if you're a pet parent, but if you've shopped on PetSmart, you've used Algolia Search. If you've used any of NBC Comcast's properties to use your remote to search for a show, or you've used
Mhm.
Algolia if in your business life, if you've used Stripe, Procter, a lot of these things you've used an Algolia Search, and it is really a proud moment to go back and now realize what I didn't know and see like, damn, it's fast. Like when I go on to Walgreens or I go on to Shields, it's a sporting goods store, the search just blazes. So that's what we do. Um, as far as AI goes, what's really unique, and I joke, you can't be really unique or kind of unique, you can only be unique. What's entirely unique to Algolia is that with 18,000 customers and 13 years, both our teams and as you mentioned, our data and our models have hundreds of thousands of Black Friday and holiday shopping experiences. Right. So again,
Mhm.
17,000 customers times 12, 13 years means that we've got a lot of different scars that we've healed from and insights that we've gleaned. And, we're never, Amazon's Amazon, but they have one, right? They've only been around for 11 years. They've only got 11
Right.
seasons of, of holiday shopping and, busy seasons or down seasons in their data and in their, again, it's a phenomenal company, different problems. But I'm just saying in
Right.
comparison, because we understand what Under Armour sees again, synthetic, of course, Under Armour sees in busy season, but also the challenges they have during the slow seasons, and their goals are changing. Are they trying to improve margin? Are they trying to move inventory? Like their goals change all the time. That all of that goes into both our people and of course on this topic goes into our models and goes into our data. So how's AI helping? Consumers today, the two or three really interesting examples I love to give. You mentioned the assistant. We've done incredibly well with fashion houses and maisons in Europe, and we've built an incredible amount of LLM and intelligence into that. So what we've got now is we've built an assistant where folks can. It doesn't replace the search; it helps the search. They can upload an image. It's intelligent enough to know, oh, there's a dog. Are you looking for the collar? Are you looking for the handbag? And then it brings you to, like you pointed out, recommendations. The same thing will also say, help you. I need a dress for a wedding in Italy in June, right? And that will again use the language models, use the data points. What's the weather in June? Do you like, you know, are you searching? Do you like color? What's the bridesmaids
Right.
color? Wedding colors. It's these assistants where a lot of our customers aren't necessarily ready to turn everything over to a bot but absolutely want assistance in the chat because that's what consumers are asking for.
Okay. Can
And
you,
another, oh, go ahead, please.
sorry to jump in. Do you have any like metrics or data as to the usage of the
Mm.
assistants for Algolia's customers?
Oh, yeah. We have one fashion house that's seen a 40% uplift in search conversion, which is astronomical. It's amazing.
Because of using the
Exclusively,
AI assistant?
the AI assistant is showing a 40% increase, a 40% success metric over the former search. Yeah. Over their other search methods.
So they have both available on their website.
They have
But
actually
when it
They have several. You can even talk to a fashion assistant. So of all the methods they have of helping you find one, it outperforms all by over 40%.
so when a customer engages with the AI assistant, it converts 40% better.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yep.
that's something to write home about.
Oh yeah. You could
So,
you could you could read about them online for us. It's a Harry Rosen. It's a big fashion house. Uh,
okay.
yep, we have a case study published. Very proud of them. We get to meet them in London not too long ago. Um, and very excited to really work on what's next. Another one, I think it's Huckberry, I forget. Another one has a 9.4% decrease in returns and exchanges because the assistant helped them pick the right product.
Mm.
So using the assistant results in a 10% reduction in return. So you have a more, to your point about the ovens, you have a more informed buyer.
Is the implementation process different for the AI assistant than a typical? I mean, I'm assuming it is. Help me understand how it's different.
Interesting. So it's similar and it's different. It's similar in the sense that, one of our customers selling, luxury handbags and suitcases is a very different customer than someone selling luxury suits and luxury watches. And that's just, one tiny segment, of the 17 or 18,000
Mhm.
customers we have. So it's similar in that, you know, we want to make sure that we're prioritizing understanding their language, understanding their language schema better, right? And so we do often recommend, especially with the generative side, a few days of strategy because especially like our big fashion houses, they simply it's unacceptable to do something off the shelf, something that's a bot that may represent their brand. I mean, these are, the Rolexes of the world, right?
Image is everything.
There's nothing bigger, right? No,
Yeah,
and at least not yet. I don't know that people are buying Rolexes online. I'm sure it's coming. Um, but the point is like they very much they want it to be strategic. It's not a technical. It's a technical. Well, I'll split it. The technical enabler is to make sure we have the language structure correct, of course, right? The second piece, of course, is to do something strategic, like, at what point do we decide to point them to a retail location? At what point do we want to decide to refer them to a human rep? So it's different in the strategy. The technology shifts not a whole lot. That's where it's similar because we still need to train our LLMs for good search, and we still need to train our models for keyword search or voice search regardless. So that's where they are similar. So like when you are building your information architecture, you are building what's important to your brand. Um, that part's the same. What's different is in the user experience. Sorry, long way to come around. It's a great question.
sure.
What's different is to strategize the user experience. What's right for my customer and my business.
Okay. Um,
Here's an
so
example. Here's
yeah,
another example. So we have a grocery. We have a lot of success in grocery as well, especially in Europe, where it's a little more competitive. I think the competing grocery organizations, US, there's, you can name them.
right, right.
Um, you can, like our latest has been, I'd like to make dinner. I'd like to make chicken parm for dinner. I need a lactose-free chicken parm dinner. I need a lactose-free, gluten-free chicken parm dinner. And so it'll walk you through the recipe and then turn that into a cart. Yeah, and so I think again, we're solving problems, we're helping find without foraging, we're helping you build the dinner you want to build with the ingredients that you need. Without this, it was impossible. You couldn't do it the other way. You could
Without me having to go over to every single product detail page and say add to cart, I mean that's it. That's the answer we're looking for is the package. Like the holistic uh result. So that's great. So the people are saying that the website is going to die and the agents are going to take over. I'm sure you've heard about that. What's your thoughts? What do you think about that statement or prediction?
I mean, I go back to your earlier point. If you need a quick gallon of milk, are you going to open your chat agent? I mean, you might just say add it to my Google, add it to my shopping list. Like that might be the extent of it. So, and I also think that as much as things change, the old adage, the more they stay the same, right? We're still looking at interruption marketing on YouTube. We're still looking at it's the same commercial as it was on a radio show 70 years ago, right? Like, so
Right.
I think a lot of the same methods are similar. So no, I don't think the traditional website is going away any, I think that um I think its purpose is evolving. You know,
Okay.
as a techno buyer, I remember the times when I could tell you exactly which retailers shared their inventory online. I could tell
Mhm.
you to solve that cleat problem before I had kids. It was a different problem,
Right.
I could tell you exactly which retailers would show online inventory. A, because it was insanely hard to do it. But B, because that was the type of shopper I was. That's kind of a table stakes at a lot of places now, unless it's a, mass reseller, right? Like TJ Maxx or Marshalls that just don't even put their products online. Um, so yeah, I think I think that I don't think the agents are going to take over. I think that we need to pay attention to them generationally. I
Okay.
think that
Yeah.
we have to embrace use cases where they help. I think we need to make sure that we're unique. The the worst thing we could do is get caught in the noise. Um, but my statement would be that it's going to be just because we add a screwdriver to the toolbox doesn't mean we're going to throw out all the wrenches. I do think that there's a tool that's appropriate for an appropriate use case. And back to that kind of Goldilocks problem, the real genius, the real winner is going to be the one that's, oh, not too slow, not too accurate, right in the middle, because it's either going to be accurate and super super slow or general and super super fast.
Yeah.
And so I think that the real sauce, whether it's an agent or an app or what have you, is going to be who can deliver that Goldilocks zone.
Yeah. And
What do you think? I'm curious what you think. What do you think?
who's
I know you're
gonna
building one.
yeah, who's gonna know the customer better? So I think that's ultimately I try to like work backwards from that is I think the I think my personal belief is that the ultimate holy grail is ultra personalization. And how do we get to a point where we have that? It goes back again to the part about zero party data and direct information that a customer gives us. And then working that back into what type of data does like a search engine have from a customer, which is zero party, zero like level, direct, as opposed to just pattern recognition of Darius clicked on this soccer shoe yesterday, so he must like all these soccer shoes. Let me show him 500 more or whatever. Which, so I think that from my point of view, that's really what I want to work back from is that kind of an experience because that's what I want as a consumer myself. And when I go to and I won't even mention like directly our company. We're building something similar, extending it to even at the local level with human agents helping taking it the next level. But if you go to like Perplexity right now, which has a shopping agent, even ChatGPT is starting to show product recommendations when you use the web search feature they are basically moving in the direction of being able to help you make a purchase right in the agent. That's
Mhm.
their goal. That's the goal of any agent is to complete the transaction, not send the customer to a website, to an external source. So in that like format, I think we are moving towards that. When we're going to get there, I don't know. But that doesn't mean that a website or a brand or a retailer's own experience has to go away.
Mhm.
It might just change. It might change to a different format. There's definitely going to be data that is needed by Perplexity or anybody or us to link to a retailer or brand's database to actually enable that transaction. We can't just do it by ourselves. Um, the I guess some people might say yes, the OpenAI operator can actually sign in for you in a website and make a purchase. We'll have to see how that's going to work in the future. It's really like a cloggy, really slow process right now. I guess my short answer is I think the way the websites work, especially e-commerce websites, is going to change. Not necessarily go away, but it's going to change, and the brands need to really understand how to play with agents. They really need to understand, in addition to their own experience, they need to understand how to get into this agent or agentic ecosystem.
That's, I mean, three quick notes, three responses that because all three of them are topics near and dear to my heart. The first one you mentioned was personalization, and this is something I think unique to search. So search is often the first sign of intent of any goal, right? Whether you need to get that gallon of milk quick, or you need to, find out more about double gas ovens, typically search is going to understand your first need and your current need. It's as close to ZMOT, the zero moment of truth, as we'll ever get. So take that one step further. Search is naturally a high performant index. So why would, excuse me, let me get this thing stopped buzzing. So it's naturally a high performant index. So if it's also current intent, in other words, most recent intel of what Darius wants, so that's my most recent intel is what you searched for. And it's already technically in a high performant index. To your point, the ability to share that or to leverage that zero party data, those systems are already connected to the index, right?
Mhm.
If it's involved in the customer, manufacturer interaction, it's in the search index, inventory size, price, right? Any point that's exchanged between customer and merchandiser or customer and company is in the search index. So personalization is, to me, super exciting, especially zero party data through search. No, you turned off that facet. No, you turned off that filter. You're zero party telling, you're honing the personalization. So I love that the personalization is, to me, and I agree very much, the brass ring. Like that's what makes this work. Two, every customer I've talked to about a sort of out of the box configurable generative experience or agentic experience. Yep, Nate, no, I understand what you're shipping, not interested. And then I talk about our Gen AI toolkit, which is more components to control the conversation or to influence it. Do you want it to be friendly? Do you want it to be casual? Which product do you want to suggest? Every one of them is a yes, 100% and on the year in 2025 of not so sure about out of the box, absolutely want to schedule a follow-up around doing something strategic. So I
Hmm.
love that point. The last one might be a tangent for a follow-up, but it's interesting because this connects back to what you're saying with the chat GPTs. I might be naive in this, but is there a amount of time when chat GPT starts selling sponsored responses? Just like we did on
Absolutely. They don't have a
YouTube,
choice. They do not
right?
have a choice.
That's what I mean. So we did it in the yellow pages, we did it in the newspapers, we did it in Google, we did it in YouTube. So ChatGPT, I think, is still like our agents taking over. You're still going to have a consumer trust factor that you'll only
Mhm.
get direct from the brand.
They're going
My
to be the next Google. I mean, they want to be the next Google. That's their number one goal.
right.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's already happening. They really don't have a choice. They cannot not offer it. But what I think personally again is that if you're gonna build another Google for me, you're gonna lose me very soon. You're useful right now, OpenAI, ChatGPT, whatever. You're useful. You're saving me time. But if you're just gonna build another experience like Google, that you're just gonna dump all this only like prioritize like sponsored products on me, you can count out me really as becoming a long-term user. And that's exactly what we're trying to be conscious about in building Visional, our own tool, is finding a balance. Yes, promotion can be useful if it's something I didn't know about. Inform me, but don't just overwhelm me with what you want me to see. Yeah. You hit me the nerve for me.
Well, we get into these. We're all consumers. One last one from personal. I saw one the other day, and I can't even remember I think I intentionally didn't want to remember the retailer because I didn't want to accidentally, but but it said recommended, and then it had the sponsored next to it.
What's next?
Which is it? Like, I thought you recommended this to me, whether it's a, ski company, fishing company, soccer company, grocery store, like you put your name on that. You said you, the expert, recommended it to me, and then right next to me told me it was sponsored recommendation. Like, come on now. You know, we, but that's the point, right? Like that's what our customers are saying as well. Like, we don't just want another fill in the blank. We want something that is insightful, that does reflect our brand. And I also agree, like, yeah, Google helps. I understand how to filter out the sponsored results now. But I think the opportunity that presents for Algolia, the opportunity that presents for our customers, that trust to the brand, I don't think is ever going to be taken over by an agent that is third party. I don't think it's ever like people are always, I believe, going to trust if I'm bringing something back to Under Armour, I'm buying something for Under Armour, I'm in a safer place buying it on Under Armour than I am on Google Store. And that's just,
Yeah,
you know, and so
absolutely.
that's going to keep us, I think, busy
I
for
think
quite.
so. I agree. I think the everybody's uniqueness can only be represented by that person or that entity. Um, and I think the role of agents for me is to help me better understand what's available, what options do I have, and which brands should I consider. Or like, I mean, there's still so much we don't know about how this whole experience is going to work. So I don't want to project too much in the future, but like, if you look at the soccer shoe example, for example, for me is like, okay, what are all the different companies that are creating soccer shoes right now? Even beyond that, what is the latest technology in soccer shoes that I should know about? Because it could give my son an advantage in the game. It could help him, turn around faster or whatever. It's like, so help me understand that and then add in who is actually doing this.
Mhm.
Let me decide if I want to look into it or not. Don't just throw me Nike and Adidas like for everything that I ask. So
Amen. And your
yeah, the
goal.
information, yeah.
Well, and think about like, and I think in the purity of business, like we can make this is where I think we got introduced was this term genuine merchandising or genuine retailing. Most people sitting in that spot want your son to have a super comfortable soccer shoe. Like they really want
Hmm.
him to enjoy it. They really don't want him to get blisters and all the good things. Like, yeah, they want to make a sale. But again, at the end of the day, they still want your son to enjoy his soccer shoe. They're not trying to trick anybody. And so I think that's where the genuine piece comes in is you're in a learning goal. And so the cool thing is well, if you're in a learning goal, I'm in an education goal. I've got a lot of expertise on this soccer shoe. Let me help you. I just want to help you. But to your point, if I'm just in a buy one quick and get out of here goal, just respect Nate. I got one at the thing. You can buy it online, pick it up in store, whatever. Your credit card wasn't even accepted, but you're a good customer. Pay us back later. I'm being silly. But the point is like my goal at that point is different. And your goal at that point might be different. And so for them, but at the end of the day, if I can give them my goal, they can meet me with their best goal, right? Like,
Hmm.
here's our best education for you. I don't want it. I'm in a rush. On the flip side, Nate, here's the best shoe at the best price we can give you today. Like, that's, if you're not interested in learning about it, add to cart now. But it's that recognition of the goal so that I can share my expertise best. I think that so many people struggle with because again, humans like right now, most people are so risk averse, so anxious about, hyper personalize it for me, but do it without me giving you one data point. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
did,
yeah.
please.
Sorry. Yeah, so I think the other interesting point is the idea that we we want to be able to find the right information at the right time of the day. So what's like human beings are just amazing. We're like all over the place. In the morning, maybe I don't want to talk to anybody. At noon, okay, I want to talk to somebody now. On Sunday, I want to shop differently. On Monday, I have a different need. And This is like they're just so dynamic. It is it's very difficult to build something that can address all of these things. Of course, I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, maybe with AGI. I don't know, but the that's the challenge. And it's really interesting for me how companies like Algolia that already have a business, they have customers, how do they think about strategizing for what is coming? Because they need to be ahead of everybody else. They can't be thinking right now. So how does Algolia manage this type of innovation?
It's an awesome question, and I think a really exciting answer. So, one of the things we've been working on a lot is because we have these 17,000, 18,000 different customers, across, I'm just kind of mentioning that data point again. It's not just a customer data point. I mean, it's a great number, don't get me wrong. But literally every season you mentioned, down seasons, whether in Australia is the opposite of a winter season in North America, like we have so much experience from how people shop and how um, retailers, merchandisers try to engage them. When are they dropping price? When are they not dropping price? When are they using discounts to drive? When are they not? When are they concerned about margin? When are they not? And to your point, one of the funny things we always tell the merchandisers is, yeah, those pesky customers and their goals change. Well, yours do too.
Mhm.
Depending on the product line, depending on the season, depending on the campaign, that one catalog can
Right.
have different goals. And so, what are we doing to stay forward? This is where a lot of our AI team really shines. We invested in Search.io a while ago, which is a very forward-thinking AI company. And so what they've done and they're doing is building out these models to just test different configs constantly and constantly test. All right, well, just run the scale of today he was looking for milk. Later on this afternoon, he was looking to, on his lunch hour he must love to research during lunch. I don't know. That's an easy example, but like, I think that's largely what we're doing is trying to fail. Largely what we're doing is to try and run enough tests with enough config that we can see which tests produce, the best outcomes, which one then, we want to put back into that Goldilocks zone. You see what I mean? Because we still need to be fast. That's the thing. We need to stay ahead, but it can't take 4 seconds to load.
Yeah.
So it's the only way we survive, frankly, and the way we thrive is to use the data, use the information we've gleaned over all this time, turn it on as many different axes as we can so that we can, pre-cook it into the models for the different segments we have. Um, but it is in industry solutions. I think that's the simple. If you're looking for a simple thing to hang it on, it's industry specific. So we dove into fashion first. We have 75% of at least America and Europe's fashion houses on our indices, and then grocery is next because the problems become very specific, and so we want to make a specific solution.
Okay. Yeah, grocery is a very interesting topic though, especially with like a menu or how to create like a whole dinner, for example. I think that's a very interesting problem to work on.
Talk about hyper personalization. You have everything from bodybuilders that need high protein, lean,
Hmm.
all the way to people that
Yeah.
never touch that
Yeah.
animal high protein a day in their life. I mean, and everything in between. Some are doing it for allergy reasons, ethical, emotional reasons, what have you. Um, it's a broad spectrum, certainly more broad than I think you and I were growing up, and it was hot dogs and French fries on the menu,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, no, it's a huge space and big money is, I mean, huge money. People are spending more on food. I think I saw a statistic, a fun one that was we've never spent more on kitchens and kitchen remodels. We've never spent more on kitchen equipment, and we've never eaten out more.
Hmm.
So,
Wow.
so we're spending a fortune on our groceries, and we're also eating out more, But like
Right.
I was talking to someone in Manhattan, 900 square foot apartment. Eating super lean and super this and, those types of things is nearly impossible to shop for it and cook it on a day-to-day basis.
Right. Right. Let's talk a little bit about your own work. The role product marketing is somewhere like a combination of product and marketing. So help me understand what is this specific role?
So I'd like to think it's bi-directional, of course. We're trying to take market need, market so very simply market solutions and help our product managers and our product team and our product strategists triage, innovate, find new opportunities. So that's our inbound job. But I think most people think about product marketing as an out when they think of product marketing, think of the outbound functions of taking a product that is a product. Usually it's a three-letter acronym, something like that, and
Mhm.
putting it into a use case where a customer can say, "Oh, yes, I do have that problem. I want to solve that problem." My simple analogy is, I tell you, Darius, if I could get you 0 to 100 in 3 seconds, is that interesting? And you say yes. And then I put you in the car and we do it, and it's exciting. Then at the end, I explain to you the type of gas, the type of compression, the type of engine we have. So, like product marketing, that's our mission is to that flow, where I think most people, buyers, customers, sellers, product people want to think in the opposite flow, right? Like, no, I've got
Mm.
an 8 cylinder with a turbo supercharger with a, 455 horsepower. And yeah, what's that mean to me? Oh, it means we go 0 to 100 in 3 seconds. Oh, cool. Like that I can relate to. So my job is to say, like, to put really exciting features into terms that customers and buyers find valuable.
So you would probably say more on the product side than on the marketing side.
Or the
Is that
marketing.
accurate?
No, I'd say it's a 50-50 split because we have to understand the facts and the reality of the product in order to tell the story that resonates. Because if I told you I go 0 to 100 in 3 seconds and it took 7 seconds, now I'm an idiot. You know?
Yeah.
Like now I've just made you disappointed and depressed, like it's the exact opposite. What I need to know is understand the very real technicalities of the product so that I can tell a really good story about it.
One reason I asked that question is that I personally have a pet peeve about the role of product managers, and the majority of them that I know are really just project managers and not product managers. So you cannot be a good product manager if you don't understand marketing.
Right. Right.
So I think that's one reason that I wanted to understand. And the other thing is that with AI, a lot of the traditional roles are changing in companies.
Mm.
What product managers did, 2 years ago is different from what they do now, and is definitely going to be different what they're going to be doing 2 years from now. Software developers the same, marketing the same. So that's is also very interesting for me to learn how companies are changing as far as their own infrastructure and structure with the usage and availability of these different AI tools.
Mhm. Yeah. 100%. And we use it in my group in product marketing. We use it in two or three key areas. Or I wouldn't say key, I'd say easily relatable, right? Easy to explain. One is in our own performance. So we look at our enablement information and we look at the content that we create and the messaging that we create. And we both put that into models for adoption of our own sales teams. Are they watching it? Are the teams that are using our enablement and using our content, are they more successful? And then further, we can also track the usage and the viewage of it and sort of gauge, okay, high use, low value asset versus high value, low use asset, and kind of find out the actual monetary in between. At a company our size, the good news is we can look at it through the lens of consumer success and sales success. Larger companies, of course, they're looking at it for staffing and resourcing investment and things like, do I need to invest more in product marketing, that sort of thing. So we can use it just simply as our self-measurement. Is the content we're creating effective to sellers? Are they adopting it? And is the content that we're creating successful in customer attraction? The other side that we use it a lot, I think most software vendors would be similar, is in any sort of win-loss analysis. So whether we're putting it on our CRM, putting it into our our sales recordings and our sales tracking software, There's a number of different providers. But yeah, we can, connect that and see how many times are we mentioning a new feature. So that's where AI is really going gangbusters because something you didn't have yesterday. Like now we can see, oh, Nate talks 80% of every call he's on. That's a problem. He's supposed to be listening. No, I'm just kidding. Right. But like I'm supposed to be listening for requirements. How come I'm talking too much? You know? Those sorts of things we can actually glean and see, are we demoing the software the way that we want to? And how's the customer's response to it? Is the customer
That's
responding to it?
very interesting. Yeah, that's a very interesting use case. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Is like having a coach, like a speech coach or an acting, whatever, not necessarily acting, but like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Speaker training.
posture even. Like so many, we need help on so many levels.
And
I'm talking about myself, of course.
oh, trust me, I'm the worst offender. I've probably interrupted you 100 times. Trust me, I have a lot of you know, panache to improve on the digital side. But I think what's cool is we're looking at it not just to use it. We don't have like an MBO that says use AI in product marketing, Nate. It's we actually have seen a few challenges. I love watching Gong recordings. I love nothing more than hearing customer challenges, how they're different, how they're the same, how two completely different businesses back to back can be talking about such a similar challenge that we're talking about today. It genuinely is the best part of my job. But then be able to glean data and trends out of those calls and customer support calls because people say things so much differently than they type them, or they'll say something like, oh, for 6 months I've been having this problem. Well, you didn't log it 6 months ago. You're not, well, the ticketing system, but I can tell you that I've been having this problem for 6 months. That's a huge insight we wouldn't have gotten without these tools.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. All right, so to close, I want to ask you, what are your top three um, outreach channels or modes for
Mm.
B2B? That's what your life is B2B. So, what are your top three preferred in 2025 and what you're looking for this year?
So this is Nate or Nate, the VP of
Nate,
product marketing
Nate,
Algolia.
Nate, as yeah.
Well, let's see. That's a great question. Outreach for me has been, and I was a doubter. I've been doing these 2 or 3 minute Q&As videos that they've been putting out. And after about the third or fourth one, I kind of apologized. I was like, oh man, sorry, these, aren't getting the traffic that you thought they would. And they're like, no, these are actually performing really well for us.
Hmm.
So, if you
Short
see,
video.
yeah, so if you see a
Okay.
video I've created, you answer it, you'll get my attention and every single marketer at Algolia's attention because we're
Hmm.
all watching those now because they're hot. I love a good old fashioned. I'm multi-channel. Send me an email, send me a LinkedIn message, Instagram me. All those are pretty well. I haven't been on X in some time. I did an integration with it. I was a hands-on deployer, and I just haven't pulled my account out of the integration yet. So I just haven't logged back.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, short video is fascinating how it's just like taking over. And I think it's really a reflection of what you mentioned initially. People just don't want to spend more time. Like even for podcasts and a lot of people just want to get to the meat. What I'm finding hard myself from the podcast is that it's not as simple as, okay, here's just like, okay, so Darius and Nate talked for an hour. Here's 10 points they talked about. But really, here's 100 points that you missed because you didn't watch or listen to the whole thing. And there is no way to capture everything in these short clips. Now, a clip is good if it only touches on one topic. Yes, that's good. But I'm having a challenge right now myself with people that try to just put like all the notes and everything in of a podcast, whereas it's the interaction that really tells you a lot more about a person. Because I want people to know Nate. I mean, the reason we're doing this, I want people to know Nate so that they can make a connection with you. And you can't do that from just taking 10 highlights and showing it.
Now, see, now you've hit my nerve. This to me is the most. This to me is why the agents won't take over, right? That there's
Hmm.
still going to be a craving for connection and a craving for trust and a craving for context, intonation, you know. I don't know. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I
No, no,
still
intent is a major problem. I do some research also on the podcast. We just did one for shopping agents, and understanding human intent is extremely difficult and maybe impossible to the level that we can actually do it. Because a lot of times we don't even know what we want. So that's the thing about human beings is like how do you handle that? And then, the concept of agency, having control. I want my agents to do things for me, but I still want to have the control.
a
Uh,
100%. And that's
yeah.
you nailed it. Because I think that's where the genuine part, like maybe I'm just searching for that cleat to show how bad it is. I don't know. Like, look at how much they're charging these days for these cleats. The last thing you
Mhm.
want to do is start targeting me with other cleats that are that expensive.
Yeah.
To your point,
Yeah.
how would you know that? How would you ever infer that from a few clicks? You never would. I'm going to be haunted by expensive cleats for the rest of my life. You know,
Every
um,
website you go, you're gonna
right?
get
Right?
retargeted. Yeah.
And that's what I mean. And so I think, that's where the agentic can come into play. Because if I say, show me your most expensive cleats, nobody searches for real cleats that way. So of course
Yeah.
they're looking to make an example. I'm just using a silly example, but I
Hmm.
think where the human element and where we're seeing it's like I said, we were going to go to market with all out of the box Gen AI features. We got out the market with shopping guides and switched our roadmap based on customer feedback have said, no, we'd actually like to do something more strategic with this one. We don't want a button on this one.
Okay. Very interesting. Well, Nate, it's been a pleasure meeting you.
Thank you for having me on. I hope we get
Absolutely.
to do one again. And if anybody has follow up, first name, last name at Algolia.
Thank you so much, Nate.